Hi guys, it's Tara back. I need to apologize because I actually am releasing this video several days after I intended to. I had this week was incredibly challenging, but it was amazing. I started my new job here in Las Vegas, and so that is really good. And so finding time to be able to record these videos when I'm not exhausted or I don't have other things going on. And then of course a couple things got thrown into the loop this week, which is okay. So anyways, welcome. If you haven't been on my channel before, I would invite you to go ahead and subscribe. Throw me a like down on the video and listen, leave some comments. Please interact with me. I love hearing back from my viewers, the people that are following me, because I know that you guys are potentially undergoing an awakening, and or you're also trying to heal and process different things that you've had to endure in your life. Okay, part of the reason why I'm doing this is because I know how helpful this has been for me. So please subscribe, please continue following me. I got a lot of good stuff. We've been talking about the emotional body and how to map our emotions, and learning about responding versus reacting. And so we're going to be going into the nervous system in the next lesson that I teach. But this one today is going to be about the inner child. And see, this is a really delicate subject for me. It's, this has been one that I've had to work through, and it's taken me a long time to even understand and connect with that little girl inside of me. Okay. And ever since I've done that, so many things have clicked for me on so many different levels. So I'm so glad that you guys are here with me today. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. So the inner child. When we are children, the first, I believe, about 7 years are the main years where who we are as our person, our identity of ourselves and how we view the world is shaped. And so as adults, when we experience certain things and we have triggers or there's different emotions that we aren't understanding, it's usually stemming back to those earlier years that were formed when we were so moldable and we were so impressionable, as children. And so there is no perfect home, okay? But some families obviously have more dysfunction than others, okay? And so when that happens, you see the patterns and the cycles that continue in a lot of families, okay? So today's lesson is going to be called Inner Child Awareness, the roots of emotional patterns, okay? And so the theme is going to be the inner child holds the original script. Today's reactions are yesterday's unmet needs, okay? Now this one hits really close to home, and I already said that. So as an adult, I started seeing a therapist when I was 24 years old. And one of the things she tried to do is she tried to connect me back with that little girl. And she would ask me questions. She's like, what do you feel for her? And straight up, my honest answer was, she got through it, didn't she? We're here, aren't we? She survived, we're good. But are we really good? Because what happened was, because of the walls and because of the mechanisms that I set up to protect myself, it kept me from seeing red flags along the way. It kept me from allowing the love that I need and I deserve, okay? I've mentioned this previously. I have a very strong, masculine, very dominant side to myself because I've had to protect this person my entire life. And I'm finally learning how to tap into that little girl and how to be softer, and hopefully one day I'm going to be able to invite a man into my life that's going to also provide that space for her to continue flourishing and growing. So anyways, the core focus is going to be childhood experiences formed emotional patterns. Okay. So in my life, having a narcissistic father, an alcoholic mother, you learn very quickly how to behave so you're not agitating or setting people off. So, we form certain, defense mechanisms in that regard, or, we learn to behave in certain ways in order to protect ourselves, but what this takes is the next thing is going to be reparenting the wounded inner child with presence and love. A lot of times we are not taken care of emotionally. We are not parented emotionally. We are not given the attention necessary. They're so concerned with all the things and the stresses and the traumas that are going on in their lives that us kids get literally like, we're not paid attention to. It's like, I wonder how Tara's processing this, And so I will tell you that huge blessing for me with my children, and as my children got older and I was loving and giving them presents, especially in those younger years, I started paying attention to myself. I started being like, wow, I really didn't have that. I'm actually filling out a book right now for my children, and it was asking me a lot of questions about my childhood, and it's been hard. It's still a process. I still am grieving little pieces as they arise in my life. So the core teachings are going to be, what is the inner child? We all have it, and as adults we think, well, the child, we're grown adults now. But honestly, like, we want to be tenderly cared for, men and women alike. Even men have that little boy where he needs to be tender. Like, yes, he's supposed to be a man. He's supposed to provide. He's supposed to be strong. He's supposed to protect. But he still has that little boy inside of him that, needs to feel safe, needs to feel protected, And so obviously as a woman, we want to be protected. We want to be loved. We want to be cherished. We want to be treated like that little princess, like daddy's little girl, or, like mommy's little boy, and I know that sounds, it sounds immature, if you will, but really? Yeah. So let's keep going. It's the part that formed the core beliefs about safety, love, and identity. Okay? I'm going to be honest with you. I did not feel very safe as a child, And so that has trickled over into my adult years, And so then it says it shows up through emotional intensity, fear of abandonment, or perfectionism. I struggled with perfectionism, OCD in a lot of areas of my life for a long time until I started to heal, and I still catch myself sometimes doing things, but I also, fear of abandonment, that's been a big one for me too, because I am afraid that if I am not meeting the people around me standards, that they're going to disown me, they're going to reject me, they're going to throw me away, okay? And so as an adult, I've had to learn how to self-soothe, and I've had to learn to care for that and tell her, she's okay, you're okay, sweetheart, you're okay, you're safe, but you still, when you get triggered, it's because it's stemming back to those different things. And so since I was working on the emotional body and learning how to map that out, you start feeling it. You immediately feel that tightness in your chest, or that achiness in your stomach, or, a tightness in your shoulders. When you start learning how to identify those, you start learning your triggers, and you stop reacting. You stop, you process, and then you respond. You have to tell yourself what is truth. And you also have to have self-compassion. You have to take care of that person. I was speaking to a friend the other day, and he is an amazing person, and he is so kind, and he's there for his friends, and he so much compassion, but he wasn't giving himself that same compassion. And because I had been through that, I knew how to easily identify it and was able to help explain it to him. And he just went through something recently where he had to stop and go, wow, I'm not giving myself the same compassion I give to others, and that has caused him anxiety. And he's dealt with a lot of shame in his life and beating himself up, much like myself. But he's been able to overcome those things, and I'm so proud of him. I'm proud of myself. I'm so proud of myself for those things. So we're going to keep going. How emotional patterns form. Okay. So if you're a child and you're crying, and you're punished as a child for crying or for being upset, what it does is you suppress sadness or explode when overwhelmed because you've not learned how to regulate your emotions. You're being told that your emotions are invalid. Therefore, you choose to shut yourself down and not feel. And so how does that end up, in potential isolation, or you suppress your emotions until you just explode. That was so common for me. I've come a long way in that regard. So reactions as adults often echo the unmet needs or unprocessed pain. Okay, and so when you feel these emotions that we were talking about in the previous lessons, we have to stop and ask ourselves, where did I first feel this? Where did I first feel unsafe? Why does this feel like I'm not safe? Like, clearly I'm safe, but why do I fear? Why do I feel that fear right now? It stems from back in the childhood, and you have to literally, it takes work. It takes work, and sometimes emotions arise, and they're scary. They can be scary. But until you learn to acknowledge them, accept them, process them, and release them, you're going to continue in those unhealthy cycles. So signs that the inner child is active. So, are overactive. It's oversensitivity, people pleasing, rage or withdrawal, shame spirals, and then feeling invisible or too much. I always was not only told I was too much, I definitely felt like I was too much as well, and I always had this fear of, the rejection, the fear of abandonment. But I also dealt with, what was I thinking? I never wanted to, I always felt like I was a burden on people. I always tried to take care of my own and hold my own, so nobody else had to take care of me, and I learned to take care of everyone around me as well. So meet and confront the inner child. Sometimes you have to stop and you have to close your eyes. And if you have children, this is a little bit easier, because when we love and we want to care for our children and we weren't cared for properly, it helps to kind of help us envision what that child how that child should be taken care of. But even just closing your eyes and talking to yourself and being like, you're okay. They didn't mean, they shouldn't have done that to you. You were not in the wrong. You're okay. And you literally have to talk to that part of yourself. And it is definitely something that has to be learned, because it doesn't come naturally, especially when you were, abused as children or neglected emotionally, physically. It's all the signs. So the alchemy tie-in, which I've referred to in every one of my videos, like I said, there's a post over on and YouTube that you can go look at, the hero's journey and the alchemy stages. So you can go look at that over there. But it ties back to the Negretto. So child self holds shadows origin. So when we talk about shadows, we talk about the dark places, the unresolved pain that we endure, those shadows that we need to address within ourselves. And then it also confronts the albedo. Meeting the inner child brings light and healing. Honestly, when we learn how to take care of that little child inside of us, that's where the biggest hurdles are jumped over. That's where the biggest healing comes from. So I want you to do this. So if you've been journaling, or if you journal, if you haven't started, please, I would highly recommend it. I journal all the time, my dreams, my emotions, my thoughts, things that have been going on. It helps you to process. And a lot of times when you're writing it on a piece of paper, you just let it flow and come out. So ask yourself a couple of these questions. So what did you need that you didn't get? What do you need that you didn't get? Okay. Another one is, what are you afraid of right now? Fear is an illusion, guys. Fear is an illusion. What are you afraid of right now? Why? Okay. Stop and ask yourself those questions. How can I love and protect you today? How can I love and protect myself today? How can I take care of myself? So I highly encourage that you dive into those things. And we're going to be going into the nervous system in my next lesson. I'm hoping to stay on the regular Tuesday, Thursday schedule. So like I said, this one's a little out of the norm. But if you guys have any questions pertaining to this, listen, my email should be down in the description, or you can find it on my page. You can also, I leave usually my notes in here and kind of like what I went through. But you guys can ask questions also in the comments as well. It's hard. It took a couple different instances, even in the past several years, for me to truly connect with that little girl. and I have become a lot softer. And so I've had a lot of healing by learning to look and address and take care of that little girl inside of me. So I hope that you guys have a wonderful day, and I look forward to being with you guys again later. All right. Mwah. Subscribe, like, leave me a comment, share. Please share. If other people are needing to read it or listen to this, please share it with them. See you guys soon.